I'm in the fields. Not that hard.
Would you all please rise and join me in reciting the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we're all here except for Carl at this point, so this is our study session. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you that we have a study session a week from
I
today
found that out.
and the meeting on the 4th,
Yeah.
which is extremely important that we be here on the 4th and the 25th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because we, in order to pass the levy and the budget, we need to have a quorum. So please, if you're not gonna be here, please let me know, or maybe we can, we can't vote by phone, but at any rate. Committee reports. Do you wanna talk about what we talked about beforehand and anything else that you got?
Really, the only thing is they're having some heating, cooling issues up there, and I did call Sycamore, and I thought they had everything taken care of, but I'll get back with them.
I think we need a meeting.
And I think, you want with,
Ori, I mean, we need to see what Ori suggests.
I'll call Larry and ask him what I have to do to get that thing to turn on a little bit earlier.
So what's the problem? You know,
I really think they don't have the limits set. In other words, it turns down at night and then it turns back up in the morning. It does get warmer, but just not fast. Does it ever hit, but you said 67, I thought was what they had it
That's the
limited
most, I
at.
think that's the most we've ever got it up to, is
Well, we need
67.
to check to see what the limits are.
Well, do you remember that one time when I was upstairs and the one was running and it got hot, so hot we had to open windows up there? That was during the summer and spring, wasn't it? So it will get there, but
Yeah.
They-
And
We need to know what the
it's a
settings
mask,
are.
right?
We need to know what the settings are. If it's gonna be, like they got in, Augie's office was what, 60 this morning?
60 is right.
Well, that's-
And that's what, it should be kicking on at 5 or 6.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever, however long it takes, be warm when you get there.
Right,
Right.
and then we need to know what the parameters are that it can operate
And
to.
I know it's the master unit downstairs. You can override it a couple degrees, but it still keeps it close to that, so.
And which also speaks to we need to get, our maintenance guy trained on
On
what
how
to
to
look
do
at.
that.
Yes,
Is
Okay.
it that way in every building or just the courthouse?
that's the only thing we know about.
Okay, we just wanted.
No,
I think the jail is
It's just-
fine.
Or jail.
Well, and we did get the gas line fixed at the jail.
Okay.
They still have to go in, he said they have, last time I talked to him, they have to, clean the boiler or something before they line. I think that, I would assume they probably have it going by now, cause that's a couple.
Don't we have to get a water,
We do need to get a water softener in there
Right. To save our,
to say that it needs to be the whole thing now since they got the jail on those automatic shut-offs and things, and there's a lot of little capillary tubes that require not to have hard water run through them, so.
did you have another question, Dan? I'm sorry.
No, I just, asked more if it's that way in every building or just, but I haven't heard any complaints from the health.
I think the health
so-
department's fine, I think the jail is fine.
Well, and the jail doesn't go up and down at night, I assume, so,
Right,
you know, that's,
well, yeah, well,
And then,
they have occupants all night, so.
any questions? Dan?
Health department meeting last week. I don't know if you realize that the old hospital has a crew that's living in there. It's causing problems. They got junk everywhere. So Janet wants to build a fence between the old hospital and the parking lot here on the north side of the health department building.
Who owns the old hospital?
McClintock. And it's a mess, and I guess a lot of drugs going on, sales and all that, so she just wants to put a privacy fence.
there.
Yeah. So, we talked about it, it's like $15,000, but it would come out of her budget, but
No, I
we're
understand.
trying to get a little bit cheaper, but that's one thing we talked about. So, but that wouldn't concern us because I thought I'd bring it up.
I haven't been on the backside, but I drove
Oh,
down Proctor
Jesus.
Street yesterday,
Go down the
and
backside.
the front looks better than it has in years.
Go to the backside.
Well,
No,
No, I know where
It's been
everything
gradually
went.
looking worse and worse all the time.
Yeah. So, Other than that, I talked a little bit about the COVID. I mean, numbers are going up. They may have to go back to more restrictions like we had before, so I don't know what's gonna happen there. So, of course,
I'm always concerned, I realize numbers are going up, but they're testing more, so naturally it
Yes,
would
they
make
are,
sense to
right.
me, if you're testing more, your numbers will probably
right,
go
yeah.
up.
But still, if you look at Terra Paper every morning has a running total, we're about 155. Clark County's like 400 and some.
I thought we
Crawford
were
County's-
actually, our rate is not that big.
No.
Yeah, we're not in the,
And that's what classifies you into a
Yeah, I
problem.
don't think we're testing as much as the other counties. Crawford County's up to 600 and some positives.
I don't know, I sure see, because I take care of the uninsured billing,
Yeah,
and I sure see a lot of people who are not from here.
yeah.
And I suspect it's from the two universities, but not everybody does the rapid tests that we do.
And not, while the state does not recognize rapid test positives for some reason, they're
Then you have to go back and do the
presumptive,
next one.
presumptive positives. I don't know
Yeah,
if they count those in the number or not. Do they count them in or
No.
not? That's what I was thinking, so. So we may have 600, but only 150 are actually true positive COVID.
yeah.
So I don't know. But dude, if we have a positive, you probably know, presumptive or positive rapid, do they go ahead and test? the,
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure anybody
That's what they
knows
did with
anything
me.
positively.
you're right, I think.
Now, the other,
It's interesting, you said lots, a lot of them that you're dealing with are not from Edgar County? Why do they come
well,
here?
most of them are NAL workers probably, aren't
Is
they?
that what,
They come from other,
I
Terre
don't
Haute.
think so.
well, she said they're uninsured, so that wouldn't be NAL workers,
Right,
correct?
except for NAL insurance doesn't kick in right away.
Okay.
You have to be there like 90 days and stuff. But no, I think that more of these probably are related to the universities.
yeah.
But, there's a couple of my staff who live in
The
Terre Haute
universities.
say that Indiana isn't doing the rapid test, so.
We've got 148 positive.
Well, Taro said.
Now, what does that mean?
155.
Exactly,
Well,
what's that mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't
That
finished
means-
yet.
Yeah,
But go
okay,
ahead.
okay, go ahead.
138 active cases right now?
And, yeah, something
have-
like that.
Have tested positive symptomatic or.
See, we've got 294 recovered. We've got 216 probables, so that's 364 that have probably have, or either probable or positive. And then you take 294 away from that. So that's.
So how many have died from that here?
We've got 11 that have died from COVID.
Yeah, and regardless of the test numbers and all of that, the death rates, you know, in the last, 6-8 weeks has been reasonably steady. You know, so it's definitely here.
Yeah.
And we can argue all we want on 3%, 5%, 0.5%, whatever on the numbers. I mean, it's got a good foothold.
Yeah, it's just, we need to fight to keep the infection rate down.
I have a lady at Twin Lakes, I get calls all the time, they have 40-some positives and 4 deaths. This is only Twin Lakes.
Now, is that since the inception of the coronavirus?
Yeah.
Okay. So they had,
So I was quarantined
Not
14
somebody-
days.
That you know, yeah.
And the health department's really good. They call me every day, ask all these questions, so for 14 days I get these phone calls, so.
Of course,
From the
you're driving.
312 area code,
Pardon?
from that 312 area
Yeah,
code.
I kept saying, it says state calling, but actually it's a health department that has the 312 area code.
so they called from a 312 area code?
I'm assuming,
They have the phones, and they use that line, but actually they're calling from, health department, I think.
I'm assuming the state health department just gave every county a handful of cell phones and said, here. Cause
Well, I don't answer anything with 312. I don't
I
know.
kept working
I
on
don't
it.
answer anybody I don't know.
Right.
Either.
Okay.
Animal shelter, I go out there about every day, see my cats, I'm adopting 2 cats, so that's running fine. She still has some issues with the, computers out there, remember yeah, but can't get anybody to do anything about it.
Is she full-time or part-time?
She's still
Full-time.
Andrew, Linda's part-time. They do a great job out there, really do, so.
What issues does she have with
or
What issues with the computer?
doesn't work, half time doesn't work.
Well, it's not so much, it's
It's
just
the,
their
or-
signal out there.
Signal.
Oh, it's the sick, yeah,
It's
I knew
just-
that. Okay.
It's just not
It's
good.
not very good.
That's
And she has
kinda
some
odd.
pins that need work
Well-
on, but I told her to call Cordy. The guy-
Ray?
Yeah, Ray, but I talked to him one day, said very, very busy, said no, if they had time to help her out or not.
I've got a question, if her signal is poor, I know at the ESDA building, Josh Bell has his antenna on top, and in exchange, he provides the internet service for the ESDA building. And, it could be that she's right under it and in a shadow, but, he may well be willing to run a solid line from ESDA over to the animal
He
shelter.
actually works for us too. He's our backup,
Okay.
okay, too.
I'll mention that to her.
Yeah, but I mean, cause he's right there and, what are you looking at? Probably 100 feet of DSL cable. She's falling in the shadow of the tower.
I don't know what service she has.
That's
you
what
know.
I was gonna say, I'd find out what service she has
Yeah.
first.
It's different from what the county has.
I can't imagine that
I'll talk to her.
She's
about it.
still on.
I will. We just don't need everybody going in 20 different
Mhm,
directions.
correct.
And then getting into contracts that are more
But
expensive.
her service is different from the county's, I figure, I don't know what it is, but I'll talk to her about it. Other than that.
They never got on that. I know that the health department got on that Metro service, and did they get Metro service here? Not yet?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll need to talk to Aaron about it probably, because I think he was the one negotiating for the health department. I'll ask Aaron.
Okay, I'll ask her.
Well, and the metro service is the fiber optic line, right?
Right.
So, I mean,
That'd be rocky.
we're not gonna run that out to the animal shelter.
No.
That
Well-
doesn't seem cost effective.
How about a
No,
dish or
but,
something?
but I don't know if it goes by there or not. I know they gave a quote at one time what it would cost for the animal shelter, or no, for ESDA, so I don't know if we,
Why
I don't know
couldn't
if
you
they
just
went
get
with.
dish or something and put on the top of the animal shelter, that'd be a possibility.
It's pretty pricey,
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, let's
It probably
talk
goes
to- yeah.
75 to 100 bucks.
$100 a month.
Let's find out what she has.
Right.
And Josh
We need
is
to
right
go
there. I
step
think
by
we've
step.
got
She's
it.
out the other day, and
Good
she didn't have
option.
no service at all, but she has gotta have a computer, so that's how she dictates, gets her bills and everything.
Right.
Well, she should be going through the county with her bills.
She
Okay.
does, yeah.
Okay.
She got some she takes out, donated fees, but not
Oh,
much.
okay.
Yeah. Or
Anything
donated
else?
money.
Right. Anything else,
No,
Danny?
that's it.
John?
The only thing, the courthouse on the entryway, I know a couple people from Link Art Gallery went in and looked around. I meant to follow up last week, didn't, but we have a meeting tomorrow night there, so I'll find
Did
out.
notice on that one wall, right smack dab in the middle is an old thermostat or something right in the middle there. But I'm sure they can work around that.
Yeah,
And any other walls that they think might work. We just
Okay.
need to brighten it. This is like coming into a dungeon
yeah.
or the jail.
And it looks, I mean, fresh paint helped, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
still,
This is
yeah.
Brighten it up and,
Really clean the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the-
they've been-
Really clean.
well, it's the new guy
Yeah.
that's really doing
It was nice.
one heck of a
Nice
job.
clean, yeah.
I haven't heard too many, in fact, I don't think I've heard any complaints since he's been around. Right?
Correct. You did an excellent job.
That's
He'll do anything you ask him.
40.
That's good to hear.
We're not overworking him, are we?
I asked him that, quite
Okay,
honestly.
good.
I asked
Really
him
busy.
how he was getting along. Are you overworked, underworked? You just about right? He said, everything's good.
Okay.
Well, and I talked to him
So,
last week, I guess, maybe the week before, how time flies. And with his retirement pension, there's something about hours he can work and everything. And he said after the first of the year, somehow he could actually work a few more hours for the county if we needed it. So, he
Yeah.
wasn't feeling overworked, but he's very conscious of keeping his hours down because he doesn't want to screw up his pension.
Well, and in talking to him, though, he has a lot of pride in what he's doing.
Yeah, no, he does.
Yeah.
And
I
that's,
asked him
that's
about that.
really nice.
Right.
I asked him about just work down the shelter, he didn't know if he had time to do it or not, so.
Do you have the number for that handyman that we talked to that,
I don't have his number, but I can get a hold of Tom.
yeah,
That's a good idea.
because there was something at the end, we talked about that last study session and I dropped the ball and forgot about it. There's a little project someplace they're trying to get somebody to do, I think it was at the animal shelter.
Okay.
On gates or some pins.
Yeah, well,
I'll get a hold of Tom.
Okay, Carl's not here, Phil, nothing, Lisa?
I'm texting with Marty, he said he's no longer on the FedCo board, so I need to find out who is and see if they're meeting.
Okay, so, yeah, you're gonna fill in for that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Well, I've got a list.
Okay, I got some questions on the list too.
All right, ambulance committee. I talked to Derek a couple of times, and this is what he thinks we should do. He thinks, first of all, that he wanted to know what we're doing about the financing, and I told him that the board was doing the levy, and told him the circumstances and so forth, and when the money would be available.
You're on Northern Aggie County.
Right, we're talking
Okay.
ambulance service number 2. He would like to see it synced up with 1, so the next time when we start bidding these things, we can bid them together,
Okay, that's a good idea.
okay?
What do you
So
mean?
it'd be a June 1, if they bid in the spring, then it would be for a contract that started on June 1, okay? Because the other contract starts
So that would
on
be-
June 1.
that's
Okay, and that way they would run together. And if somebody wanted to bid them both and it
Yeah.
became more economical, that way we would be set up for that.
I thought we weren't allowed to do that, was my understanding.
Well,
No,
they're
they
not
can-
gonna combine them.
They're not gonna combine them,
They
they
just
just
let them at the same time.
Right,
Okay.
okay. Number 2, the committee would be Derek Lorenzen, Kevin Julian, Lisa Ellis, Andy Patrick, and Mike Martin. We've got 3 that aren't currently board members, and we've got 2 board members. 2 of them are from that area, and the rationale for Derek is that he's been through it and has the contacts, and that's,
Yeah, he was pretty, instrumental in that.
Yeah, and
Contract
Derek's
that we
not
have
technically from that area, but I think that area is probably content with him representing them on it. He's,
most of his family lives in
exactly,
Right,
he knows the neighborhood.
Right, and that way we don't have to go over plowed ground.
Mhm.
I mean, that would give us
Yeah.
some advantage,
Right.
okay? Now, Marvin is the fire chief in Chrisman, and Kevin is the township supervisor out in, hang on 1 second, this is work. Yes, sir. Yes.
So can you see my Purdue Pete bulk bin from your backyard? I think if you stand in the right place, you probably can.
Well, if I stand
What
on
about
that,
to do when you put in?
Yeah.
what is it you put in?
It's a small grain bin, bulk bin.
I would
It's got
guess
Purdue Pete painted on the side
If
of it.
I stand up on my pool deck, I guarantee you I can see it.
All right.
See where Indiana's rated 17th in the nation, top 25.
No, well,
Purdue's honorable mention.
Okay, and then Kevin Julian is the chairman of the current board that
I'll check
operates
that
the
out.
ambulance service and supervisor out in Shiloh. So we've got 2 good guys that can give some indication of what is expected and represent the folks up there, okay? So are there any questions on that? I figure on the 4th, we'll appoint them, or I'll appoint them with your consent. And then they'll get started, and Derek, he may be at the meeting, but just to describe how they're gonna approach things, but they're gonna hit the ground running, and try to get things going in the next 2 months or so. So by the first of the year, or by February, we may be able to bid it. We've got basically 7 months to get it going, and that sounds like a lot, but it goes by
There's a lot of
fast.
little stuff that happens.
If anything, I would want one more representative from the area.
Well, the last time we had all board members,
Mhm.
and
I don't even know who else is active. I only know about Kevin being kind of the spokesperson.
Yeah, that's when we were up there, Kevin.
well,
Kinda ran that.
that's who I'm going to appoint, so if you guys want to change it, you're welcome to.
I just,
I mean,
if
it's,
anything, I would add somebody else from that area.
well, I wanted to keep it uneven.
Okay,
Well, in my mind, Andy's the only one not from that area.
yeah.
I mean, you know, like I said, Derek, I'm calling him from that area, technically, maybe not, but
Yeah, he is. I mean, he knows,
Yeah, we've all
he knows
got,
all the people up there, and knows what,
I could put myself on, but I just as soon not. I mean, Sherman, I don't know. I could come to the meetings. I just wanted to keep it so. We don't want to get it too big.
yeah.
The
I
five,
agree.
yeah, more than 5 and you're.
well, if you have some thoughts, let me know. We can always,
Yes, my, granted, I kind of fill both roles, but, I just wanna make sure that when there's a decision, that there's enough decision makers that are from that area, that it is clear that it's, they had a big
Next
role in
people,
it.
yeah.
well, we got
That's about
4,
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, yes, sir,
Are
pardon
they-
me.
That might be a little early. The spec's gonna be the same for that end of service as what we have for Verizon Health.
Well, that's what they're gonna decide.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I
I don't
think
think it had that many
when,
ambulances.
let me just say this, is what was told to the citizens of the Special Services Area Number 2 was that they were gonna try to do 24/7, at least having one staffed ambulance. Whether that can happen, or whether you get somebody to bid, we don't know.
Depends on what kind of money it brings in.
Yeah, and right now, remember that the ambulance service up there handles about 1.4, does that ring a bell to you? 1.4 calls a day. Yeah, so, at any rate, so it's, we'll just have to see how that works. And there, there may have to be an alternate bid package, package 1, which would be totally what everybody wants, or 2, or, I don't know. I mean, we need to be creative. Okay?
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Next item I've got on the deal, the dais, is the amendments to the wind farm ordinance. I haven't heard much of anything. Has anybody heard anything? Yes,
Not on the amendment, but it's Dick James, the attorney for this, because he
No.
asked for a copy of it.
he was sent a copy.
I gave him a copy.
Augie sent him one,
Okay, I gave him one too.
yeah.
I don't know
Whatever
what,
it was last Thursday or something, or Wednesday.
I guess.
I don't know what his position was, or.
He represents some of the landowners.
Okay, all right.
And he simply wanted to know what the lay of the land was gonna look like with the amendments to the old ordinance.
Okay, yeah, I gave him a copy of it.
Well, no, that's fine, I mean, it's,
Okay.
whatever you
Everything
did's
was
fine,
secret,
but,
so.
You know, he also, a bit of a side, and I know his family ground, but he represents a lot of the drainage districts in that area. And to put my drainage district hat on, something we've never even considered on this ordinance, but legally is protected pretty well through other means, is, you start putting that much concrete in the ground, you can affect drainage, water flow underground, et cetera, tiles.
of course, that's handled by, and I haven't read that completely, but the state law governing that, I'm sure deals with drainage.
Yeah, I mean,
Minimum standards.
drainage rights are pretty
Oh, yeah.
sacred under Illinois state law.
Water
So,
rights,
yeah.
drainage, all that is,
So like I said, I really think county-wise, we're protected well enough by existing laws, but
it's something.
since Dick James does represent several of the drainage districts in that area, I can see where he's got a vested interest in seeing the proposal.
I know when they redid the pipeline that ran by us,
Yeah.
our part of the world, there were a lot of tiles that were compromised, broken, that is still causing problems. I think
There's-
that now most of them have been fixed.
But they
That's
still-
not, that's not apples to apples though.
The crews are still working. I know there's guys that you hear about that are still waiting for them to come in and, you know, make things right.
Yeah.
They're still charging the company that did it to come in and fix stuff?
Oh, yeah, the company's coming in and paying for
Okay,
everything.
okay,
If something's not working right, they fix it,
okay.
okay? I had a drainage problem with one that came in, the last one, not this, and they came in and fixed everything. And it's been 15, 20 years.
I was gonna say, it's been a while since
Yeah.
they
Has
did
it
that.
been that long
Yeah.
since?
Or maybe it was
Anytime.
25 years, but they came in and they
That's why I figured
said,
there'd be
no,
a
we'll
statute
take
of
care of that,
limitations or
sorry.
something.
So
Okay.
having Dick James aware and involved is probably a good thing. As far as his perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
And
it means he's
Wyatt,
doing due diligence.
Now, but you say, I mean, they come and they trench a lot of, they do a lot of trenching, do trench lines and stuff to them, and
sure, because they've
Yeah.
gotta have, so, we'll be discussing this a week from today, and then it'll be on the agenda unless something comes up at the 4th board meeting to go ahead and pass the amendments.
He was asking where it's gonna be ratified, so I told him probably that meeting, so.
Yeah, unless something comes up, we're flexible, I mean, if somebody's got a, you know, something that's noteworthy that we need to, that the plan is to go forward. Okay. Illinois, law, I just want you to be aware of it, I'll get a copy of it to you. The city of Chrisman, two of the commissioners up there, elected commissioners, handed me this document that the state of Illinois has passed about demolition, repair, and enclosure of abandoned buildings. And there's procedures now that the county can follow and they can request that would enhance their ability to clean up some of their derelict buildings in each, whether it be Paris or Vermillion or Kansas or Chrisman. And so we ought to take a look at this. I'm gonna get this to Augie and up to, pardon me, Mark, so that he can take a look at this and see what our obligations are and what they aren't.
no funding.
No, there's no funding.
Okay.
But, as usual, a lot of this is billable to the landlord, even though he has derelict, and there's the rub.
Right.
But what it does is it moves the process forward. Instead of having to wait 3 years to get some things done, it now is by court order, you get a court order to do certain things, and maybe it'll help, I don't know. That's why I wanna get it to Mark, so that we can see what it offers us. You know, it may be, you guys may decide eventually that the money we're bringing in on cannabis is starting to grow and grow and grow. We could dedicate that fund to, you know, maybe helping out a little bit some of the communities, whether it be Paris or whoever,
I
with
know-
that. Go ahead, Jim.
Pardon me, I thought you were done.
Oh, I'm just rambling.
Okay, I don't feel bad then. You know, we never have as a county board, and I'm not advocating for it, but you know, there are abandoned properties out in the county that,
Yeah,
you know,
well, it's,
I'm not sure that that's really an animal that we want to try to tackle, but
well,
sounds like the option would be there if we
Like
wanted
one
to.
on the
A
lower
bunch of them
King,
in the city.
one on the
Oh,
lower
In
King.
every little
That's
not
community
abandoned.
Just
too.
driving up Central Maine, you see
Lives in
one.
them. Jesus.
well, we need to try to crack this nut if we can,
Hmm.
somehow. And, you know, so far, funding hasn't been available. There's a
Right.
funding mechanism through the realtors, but they're concentrating more on larger communities. We've even gone in as a county trying to get and several of the other counties have, and we haven't had any success. There's just, it's highly competitive and, you know, so at any rate, I wanted to make you aware of that, so we'll do our best to stay on that and find out what's going on. Oh, let's see, levy and budget. First of all, do any of you folks have any questions on the levy and budget? It was distributed last week, all the amendments, Augie took care of his on the levy because we had to change the tort levy, okay? Then we also had to make a couple of changes in the regular budget, the operating budget, because of the sheriff's department, based on what we decided to do with cooperating on that unit with Paris. I will tell you that John brought up the fact that some of the budgets, especially the health department budget, was an issue because of the growth in the staffing. And with Josh Knight's help, we were able to find out that number one, all of those things were covered by a large grant that the health department got for $800,000. I think you talked about it a little bit in the article the last week. But we found out that that was all eligible. The Social Security and the retirement funds are all eligible to be reimbursed under the CARES Act and that in that budget that for that grant. And so not only we're doing that for that, but we're going back to everything that we put in because that's all eligible. So we didn't have to grow the budget quite as much, the tort. The only thing we had to do was grow it because of what the new liability insurance cost, okay? So that held down the cost. Josh and Janet are working on coming up, and Pam over at the treasurer's office are coming up with the figures so that we can get those all submitted and that Janet can amend her budget so that we can get those things back, okay? So there'll be a line item in those budgets on income that will show, for example, if we spend an extra 10 grand for the health department in Social Security, then it'll be there, okay? So we're doing our very best to do what we can with that. And that will extend well into next year, okay?
When you say, is that the CARES Act, that's the federally funded? Okay.
It comes through the state, but we've already got almost 120 grand
Okay.
back on that deal, okay? And then, so things are moving forward there. Yes, John?
Oh, I didn't have my hand up. One other question, on the budget. I didn't bring my copy, it's in the wrong beat. No, without my notes, I couldn't remember. And it's not a big deal, the numbers were all essentially the same. But the courthouse security fund and the judges fund, it moved from one line to another, and I assume that was just for bookkeeping to,
Right, instead of taking it out of the 800 funds, we're gonna start taking it out of regular payroll funds,
okay.
okay? And that will be, I just wanted to, I'm just letting you know, we've got, what did I say, 155 positive, now it's, I'm sorry, 147, now it's 155 since Friday. Okay, active cases.
And
Uh,
Augie, I saw you had another 500 for county board expenses. We spending that much money?
What'd we do? I forget.
I don't know, just in the budget. County
It's
board
grown.
expenses went up $500.
That's a strong bucket.
Maybe I'm drinking that much coffee on the board, I don't know.
I'm getting away from one other thing that, well, let me,
I'm sorry, we were on courthouse security.
Yeah.
I was-
I'm trying to remember where I was. Of the total budget for all agencies and everything else, we're up, we're spending $66,000 less than what we have available. I mean, we have a surplus of $66,000 for all funds, That'd be all agencies, including the health department, our general fund, all the highway funds, everything. And our budget for Fund 100 is $4,800 surplus. So it's in pretty good shape, okay? So, the levy is 3.47% up for this year. And all of those, it has nothing to do, we're actually collecting less for the county, general county taxes, but it has to do with, some of the other funds, like 508, or 708 board, sorry, too many numbers. So 708 tort, and retirement accommodate most of that increase, and the health department. They're collecting an extra $10,000 this coming year. But it's all there. If you've got any questions, we'll talk about it again on next study session, and then we'll be setting this out for public view on the 4th, and it'll lay that way till the 25th, and then we will officially pass the budget and levy. Correct, Augie?
Yes,
Go ahead,
and if I
please.
could say something, those few changes that you just mentioned, Don sent to me, and I asked him if he was finished. And should I go ahead and make 7 more copies times 50 pages? And he said, well, I'm gonna tweak it a little bit more, meaning, I think he's gonna take out the comparison from the previous year and move the fiscal year 20 there, and, you know, it's more.
He has to put it in final.
He's gotta put it in final form, so that's why I did not print that all out to give to you, because it's not gonna be what you're gonna see next.
It's gonna be the same figures.
It's gonna be the same figures, but not the same layout,
Right.
and I just didn't want there to be any confusion as to, well, my copy says this,
Yeah.
and even though it'll say the same, but it won't be laid out exactly the same.
Does
So-
anybody have a problem with him going ahead and?
I think the forests of the world thank you for not printing out the hard copies if it's gonna change.
And so I'm, you know, we got this week, and I hope, well,
I don't have any more changes.
okay. So then I will get that out to you, hopefully just any day now. As soon as he sends it to me, I'll send it out to you. And, but I'll have paper copies for you for next Monday morning.
It seemed like there was something else on the budget. No, I can't think of what it is.
What are we doing for, well, I guess I know the answer, we discussed it. I was gonna ask on the new ambulance board, we're going ahead and levying a certain amount, and then we'll see what the bid is.
254,000 is the max.
And if a bid comes in under that, the money will sit in an account and it can be used in
Or if
future
we know
years.
soon enough, we can abate,
Okay,
okay? And there's a limit to when we can abate, but we can't collect any more than that.
right,
But Augie can give us the times at which we can, like if it's, we can save 50 grand, we can abate it down to 204,000.
okay,
So that's always possible up to a certain date, okay?
okay.
Anything else on the budget, Randy? Yes? No, you're fine.
No, it's something different.
Okay, let me, negotiation contracts, we are gonna be meeting hopefully this week. We tentatively believe that we're gonna be able to, sign off on a contract with the sheriff's deputies later on this week. Got all the verbiage, we're just passing it back and forth so everybody understands, and hopefully we'll have a meeting and that contract will be available to be approved at the next board meeting. Plus, we're in the middle of starting to talk to the jailers and dispatchers, okay?
And this is a clarification, the new position that we're adding, basically a detective again, will they be at a higher salary rate than a road deputy, and is that
I think it's X amount of.
contract issue?
Right,
Yes.
there's more.
And it's already built into the contract.
Okay,
And there's I know, I don't wanna say what it is.
Yeah.
So
No, I don't need the hard number, I
Yeah.
just assume
Yes,
that's
there is.
considered
It
in
is
the
a-
contract.
Right,
Not a lot, but there is. It's,
Yeah.
yeah. And of course, before we can do that, we need to hire another deputy. And then, so that we can, yeah, we've still got to grow a little bit.
Is that the task force deputy?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Chairs, let's see what else I got here. The airport appointments, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 911 appointments are coming up, probably next meeting or the meeting thereafter. Carl and Troy Eads are up, and at this point, we just see just reappointing those folks. There's only two, it goes 3 1 year, 3 the following year. No, is that right? 3, 3, and 2, I think. All right, so, no, I can't remember. Anyway.
It's staggered.
We've got two, maybe it's 2, 2, and 3. At any rate, we've got those two to appoint. Unfortunately, I need to tell you that we lost Dwayne Fiddler over a week ago. It'll be 2 weeks this coming Wednesday, or was it a week? Yeah, it was a week, 2 weeks ago this coming Wednesday. And he does hold a position on the 911 board, or did, and will be, in another month or so, we'll be looking for anybody who might be available to take his place that's qualified. So if you have anybody that you can think of that might be interested, please let me know. It's a sad day. Let me just double check. Taxes wise, we've still got about 330,000 come into the general fund. I let you know at the last meeting, we are getting, safety tax money now. We get it within the first 5 days of the month. And so that's something that, is helping us out, trying to catch up for some of the money we spent earlier this year getting the jail ready. Any questions about that? Yes, sir.
I have 1 or 2 people downtown, every month they say, well, when are you gonna start planning for a new jail since you got the other one open? What should I tell that person?
Well, I've been announcing at the meetings that we've already started that.
Okay,
Yeah, we've got,
Now, don't know that necessarily gonna be a new jail.
yeah,
okay.
We are going to look at what
a
the
long-term
requirements are.
solution
Yes.
for the jail. We don't wanna have
He
to,
gets a little excited,
okay,
one
well,
that talks to him.
yeah, I imagine.
I get a little excited too.
Anyway, remember we got that grant,
Yeah, I knew,
you guys
is
have,
that the one for Charleston?
yes,
Yeah, I told you
and
that.
they've already started.
I told him that, so.
So they're gonna be seeing a lot going on as far as surveys, and they're gonna
Okay.
do physical surveys of the community for sites.
I more or less told him that,
Okay, it's already started.
but, okay.
And then we have our own planner now that's on board and is starting to work on the issue with them. And it's kind of our liaison or consultant on the issue,
Okay.
okay? The other issue, and we've had personnel issues come up that we don't have an HR department. I think you and I have talked about this, me and Lisa. And Augie and I talked about it last week. And although some of us haven't been happy with all of the things that our old consultant was doing, HR could be a valuable asset to us. And so we're gonna try to find out who's out there, what kind of money we'd be talking about to handle our HR situation, so we have less problems on a consistent basis, have somebody for staff to go to. Maybe not to review bids and all that stuff, but simply looking based on our personnel policy, maybe even doing some adjustments in that, because we found some inconsistencies. Like, for example, right now, we've got one section that our labor attorney is looking at to make sure that we don't have inconsistencies that part of our employees do one thing and part of them do something else. Also recognizing at the same time that each elected official has their own ability to interpret or whatever, as far as it's a fine line, right, Augie?
Yes.
So that would help us, I think, a great deal, and I think it'd be money well spent and maybe save us on the court issues later on if we had any issues. Okay?
There'd at least be written documentation.
Right.
Okay.
And I
That's
understand,
my
for
concern.
example, that Bushu had written a policy, right, Augie? That we never got to even discuss, we've got it, but that would replace what we currently have. I don't know in totality or whether they took part of ours and updated it, but those are things that we ought to take a look at, because that policy, as far as I know, hasn't been looked at in 10 years. I mean, since I've been here, so you know that it's somewhat antiquated.
We looked at part of it a few years ago.
So, at any rate, I wanted to make you aware of that we were checking that out also.
Be a full-time position or part-time?
No, this would just be as a consultant.
Okay.
In other words,
Wouldn't be an actual employee then?
well, I
Yeah.
don't see that. I think it would be more reasonable, as small as we are, if we had somebody that we could pick up the phone
Yeah.
and say, okay, here's, the other thing we need to start doing, and Lisa and I have talked about this, is starting a roundtable discussion of administrators. We used to do that once a month, then it was twice, or once every 2 months, and then we got away with it, from it. And these are things that we need to start doing.
And that would be all the department heads, I'm assuming, you know,
Right.
all the elected officials plus, Aaron plus you and probably Janet and,
Yeah, whatever,
Okay.
but I mean, yes.
okay.
And that way, first of all, communications is always the problem.
Right.
Number one. And that way we can deal with issues as they come up and not all live in individual bubbles. So, I mean, the elected officials would still have the opportunity to run their departments the way they, but, I mean, everybody could understand what page everybody else is on, so that's the main
Yeah.
thing. So we're gonna try to institute that after the beginning of the fiscal year.
Well, and I guess why I worded it that way, and it seemed a little misleading, but most of the elected officials are basically a department head. I mean, I consider you a department head, but you're an elected official, so,
Right.
Well, then you've also got the highway department, which is kind of
which is Aaron, yeah.
autonomous. I mean, they run their own show.
Yeah,
Well,
that's-
but they're
still-
more so tied to personnel policy than like Augie's
Yeah.
department.
Yeah.
Or the state's attorney. I mean, they do answer, Janet, well, not Janet, she answers to her own board.
Right.
But as far as everything else, including him,
Yeah.
he answers, and Dina, yes, sir.
When I got that organized several years ago, it was elected officials / department head. So we met out at the Kreckman Building in the conference room. The table was full, the perimeter was full. We had a very good turnout of department heads, elected officials, board member, and we met fairly regularly, and it was good to communicate. Now, sometimes we didn't have much to say, but we got together, and you know how it goes when you get super busy, then, you drop out and you're too busy, and we'll get that, and it just, everybody sort of went their own way, and it's, so yeah, I think it's a great idea to get it reinstated and get going. I mean, we have to format for it, the agenda. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's,
Well, like Augie tells us about issues that he has, and you shouldn't apologize for that, especially but if we're at a table and Augie brings that up and go, yeah, I'm having that problem too, or this is what there's all kinds of different things you're gonna find out that otherwise you might not find out.
No, it's a great idea. And like you said, some months you may not have anything to talk about, but
We don't
when
know.
you do have something to talk about, you gotta have a place to do it, so,
We don't wanna waste everybody's time.
no.
You know, talking about nonsense, but if
And
we
if you-
keep it,
Yeah, and if you think you have, you're considering an issue or something going on in your department, and you think, oh, I'm not gonna bother those guys with that, just the brainstorm, it, like you said, is, you know, might be somebody else that'll say, oh, hey, you know what, we did that, or have you tried thus and such, and I found it to be valuable. You know, and I'm one of those that we all get so busy, it just, man, oh man.
and it does seem like the last 12 to 18 months have been, so it seems like the first 8.5 years that I was here has been compressed into the last 18 months. It's just been, right, Augie? I mean, it's
Oh, my
just like,
goodness.
you know, you could kind of just glide through the first 8 years, but since those 8 years have passed, it's just been one thing after another.
In every department.
Yes,
I mean, you know, look at the election for you guys, I assume it's been a nightmare this year compared to most elections.
You have no idea.
And the health department, it's, you know, every department's had their nightmares.
I would imagine that the FOC is still available. We have a nice big conference room out there.
Yeah, is it different than the one up front?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's now offices. This one's big.
Big.
It was the library, so it's the whole center of the building.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's nice.
Plenty of parking.
okay, yeah, all right. Dan, you said you had some issues you wanted to talk about.
No, I think I brought them up. One was
Okay, I
a
just
jail.
wanna make sure.
Yeah, one was a jail.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess we should trumpet our horn a little bit more about
Yeah,
it than
it's
what we
not
have.
spread out very well.
Yeah, we'll, maybe, here soon, once they get going, we'll have maybe one study session. We'll have, Brown come in and talk about what's going on and, kinda keep you up to date, so we have you know, that we got this coming this next month, that you may hear from people that say they're gonna get something in the mail, so.
Well, and I'm assuming, you know,
I don't have
6
very
months
long
down the road or whatever, but when we do have some plans or possibilities drawn up, I assume they're gonna give some options and stuff. You know, it
Absolutely.
would probably be nice to have, I don't know whether a full-blown public meeting or not, but, you know, let the public see what the options are.
Yep.
But
Absolutely.
at this point, we've got nothing to show, so,
Not
yeah.
yet, I mean, it takes
Right.
a little time to get started.
Sure. Yeah,
Sorry,
Jeez, oh Pete.
I'm turning it off.
I can
That's
teach you how to
nursing
do
Do you know
it.
how to do that, Pop?
Oh, well,
He slams it into
got
the
a problem
wall.
with nursing home with the lady, so.
Okay. Augie, do you have some things that you wish to talk about?
I hope that's not a loaded question.
Nope.
We have been extremely busy. In round numbers, we are at north of 1,400 in-person early votes and 1,050 mail-in ballots. They just keep coming in, coming in. Question?
Yes, I have a question. Now, those 1,050 votes that have come in that are mailed in ballots, those will not be counted until when?
That's a good question. I have two tabulators. One is for in-person early, the other one is for mail. And I do that so that we can track it for grant reimbursement and things like that. We tabulate those, just meaning we count the number of ballots. Other than that, on election night, 7 o'clock, 7:01, we'll start running those. That's when those will be counted.
The 1,050?
Yes,
Are they made so that they can be fed into a machine?
yes.
Okay.
Good
I
question.
Yeah, we'll,
didn't know.
yeah, it's all, you know, it's all.
It's not like somebody's gonna have to go, okay, that's here and that's, none of that.
No, we'll We'll take
Chad's.
what's it called, TM stick, I guess, whatever they call them. And we'll take it out and plug it in the server, and it'll allocate those ballots accordingly. And then we'll do the same thing with the early votes, plug that in. So when the precincts start coming in, we'll already have our buckets already will be open, if you will.
Okay,
And they'll already have votes in there, and those will be the mail and the early. So those will be counted first, and they'll be ready to go. They'll just, so, but we don't know what, obviously we don't have any results now.
oh, no.
But
I-
they won't be, you have the book with the voter's name in it, which is, you know, kind of the ultimate decider of who voted and who not. It will not be checked for a mail-in vote until after the polls close.
Let
Well,
me
let's see if
put
I
the
understand your
A
question.
different way. If I voted during, up at Chrisman, and I voted, but I also mailed in a ballot. I'm just saying, and you run that, will it kick both of them out, or one, or will the computer know that that's happened?
When we receive when we receive a mail ballot and an in-person early, there are checks along the way. There are milestones. It's a process. We know if we've mailed out an application, we know when it comes back, and we know that the ballot was actually cast. And then the day before, we run what we call our poll books, which is a printout of every registered voter by precinct in a polling place, and it will indicate if you've already voted.
Okay.
Okay,
Because it is very clear, it will say voted in cap bold letters.
so supposedly they won't even be able to vote.
So when they look that up and they see Jeff Voigt voted,
They go,
Can't
Jeff,
vote.
you already voted.
Jeff,
can't
you already
vote
voted.
At the polling place.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I forgot.
So the mail-in ballots will be checked on the poll books.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's
At
not
what, yeah, and I mentioned I have that panel of 3 judges that are meeting every other day, and it's just pouring in, and they're doing their job, and then we take when they're done, they bring it upstairs, we scan in the envelope of that voter so we know that it's returned, and then we run the ballot through, and so we can tell whether it's vote by mail or in person. We can follow the process. And no, it will not allow you to vote twice.
Did I interfere and not?
No,
Then
not
answer the
at all,
question.
and it's not that we weren't trusting the fairness of the system, it's nice to know what the system is.
Well, we
Absolutely.
get asked all the time, or I
Yeah.
do. Well,
Yeah.
how do we know? Because I hear, at the break, well, heck, I'm just, how are we gonna know that somebody didn't vote, 15 times? Well, I said the system's gonna tell us.
So I go to Chicago to vote more than once.
I'm curious, now, you say you wait till 7 o'clock and then that's when you run the ones that you've,
Already have. The
Now.
mail ballots that are in the ballot box that we run, we put them through daily as they come
you
in.
put them through as they come.
So they're registered as voted, they just don't know
Absolutely.
what the count is,
That's right.
Okay,
or how they voted.
Yeah. To wait until.
I guess what I'm concerned is that if you get a big precinct up in Chicago or somewhere that has tons of these, is that gonna slow the process down? No, they
It
would.
doesn't slow my process down.
No, not yours, but up there, now they're waiting, and they can't do it till 7 o'clock either?
That, they're not supposed to do it until the polls close.
Okay, which I could see them conceivably having tens of thousands of them that have to run through.
If they wait until the polls close, and then they start scanning every envelope and putting through in the tabulator every ballot, oh my goodness, it might be the next morning.
But they
before
can run them through early, but you just can't know what it is.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
They're scanned.
Tabulating and results is how I keep it simple.
Okay.
It's just a count right now. It's just a
You just
count,
gotta count.
and we know who's done it,
Okay.
you know, but we don't know the results until we process that
Okay.
at 7:01.
Everybody clear on it
Yeah.
now?
I was just,
I feel a lot better knowing how it works.
I knew the
Yeah.
first time,
That's what I'm
so.
curious.
And, you know, but my staff, they are just swamped. I'm answering the phone all the time. The question is, have you received my ballot yet?
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, you don't have any idea.
Oh, I never even thought about that question.
And so, you just look it right up, yeah, we
Well-
got it on X date, and, you're good to
At
go.
least this
Or-
area is much more dependable about honesty or whatever.
right,
This is not Chicago.
right.
I mean, I don't think we have those problems here. We don't sway many vote.
It's gotta be reassuring though, and
Yeah,
it's not
if
bad for
everybody
you
else
to be on
did
the
it that
phone
way-
although you got other things to do.
Be great. But you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
The
We don't know
nice
what
thing
you're
is, and it's a
You
good
would serve
thing.
as a good example
I'm
for
sorry.
everybody else.
I thought you were done. Sorry, Phil. When we put in the new equipment, what was that, a year and a half ago? Or a year ago?
Year ago.
Anyway, thank God.
It's more reliable. The technology is just
We're up
right.
to date,
Up
and
to
that
date.
way, it's avoided a lot of problems that it might have otherwise caused,
Yeah.
so.
Oh, and I remember election judging 30+ years ago. I mean, doing the mail-in ballots the way we used to, results wouldn't be coming out till 5 in the morning, and I'd be really
Because
tired.
they just,
That's why I don't understand, some of the states say we may not know for several days.
That's what.
And
Well-
I don't understand that.
well, here's probably a big part of that is because there are still, mail ballots can still come in up to 14 days after the election day, as long as they've been postmarked on or before November 3rd. So you drop your ballot in the mail on November 3rd and it's postmarked November 3rd, it has 2 more weeks to come in. So that could be part of
So
it.
a close
Yeah.
election, okay, I'm glad you clear, because I
Yeah.
was trying to figure out if it's all
And then there are also what's called provisional ballots,
right.
where if there are issues at the polling place that are not able to be resolved, then they vote that voter provisional, which means it does not get run through the tabulator. It's sealed and comes to the county clerk's office for review. And then that voter has the burden of proof so many days. Well, it's the same 14 days, but I have to track that every day. Did they come in or not? Is it resolved or not? So,
And then if I'm not correct, or if I'm correct, you can tell, like on a close race, you can take a look at how many mail ballots you got out, or mailed ballots that haven't come back, and provisionals, and you can say, well, there's enough, we can't declare anything because,
right. If it's razor thin,
yeah,
that is correct. Yes, we'll know how many mail ballots are out,
well, they may not all come in,
and they
but
may not all come in. How many provisionals we're
But you
waiting
limit-
on,
You limit the time. They come in
14.
within 14 days.
and that's a state law.
Okay.
That's a state law. That's not my law.
And that's
Um,
one I didn't realize until this election. I mean, I knew the 14 days provisional. I always assumed that was a national thing. Every state's different on that from listening
It
to the
appears.
coverage we
Yeah.
hear, which,
there's one state that it's 3 days.
and there's one state if it's not in by the election, and well, it's Florida and they're getting sued on that one, but I mean, I always knew the 14 days. I've never election judged in another state, and then you start listening to the news and you find out everybody's different. It's like,
All right, well, thank you. It's been
Well,
quite a
you're welcome.
civics lesson. Appreciate it. We'll try to keep you up to date on where we're at on reimbursements.
I can't vote again, huh? I can't vote again.
I can arrange it for you. I could use a vote in my district.
Not
Give me
here
a call
anymore.
afterwards.
I always remember W.C. Fields, remember him?
I
He goes,
do.
I voted for you, Mayor, 5 times. Those days are long gone, at least here.
No, maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, not in the Democratic states or not.
What,
We're-
is there anything else to
Carried.
come before the meeting that we haven't discussed?
Yes, I'm out of town for our next study session.
Oh, that's a week from today. Okay.
And, but I'll be back on the 4th.
That's great.
And I still have questions, more questions on the wind ordinance.
Okay, well,
But can I dial in for a study session?
sure,
Okay.
sure.
So I'll
Or
just
if
need-
you have any questions and, you know, if you wanna get with either Jeff or I or both beforehand, I mean, on the phone.
Yeah, the more time we have, the better.
Yeah, I mean, either, and I'm not trying to hide anything, but,
No,
you know, if it's something we could answer that doesn't necessarily need the full board discussion, or we could bring it up for
I'm
you.
gone this Thursday through next Tuesday, so,
if you could get us to sometime the next couple of nights.
But if you wanna dial in, we can,
Yeah, and then
Well-
we'll still, but we'll make sure we have an answer. We don't want you to, I mean, you can dial in anytime, but it'd be nice if we had an answer for your
Sure.
questions.
okay,
And it's possible that we wouldn't have until Wednesday. I guess that wouldn't be the end of the world, but
okay.
if it's something that we've screwed up, we'd sure like to know about it.
and Jeff could probably FaceTime me in even if it makes you happy, I can't.
Oh, no, that's quite all right. Well, yeah, okay.
So, is there a bunch of them or just a couple?
I highlighted things I had questions on, if you want me to just scan it to you.
Okay, excellent. Okay. It doesn't mean we're necessarily gonna change it.
No, I just have questions, some of it is just definitions.
Okay, all right. That's fine. We will, and then we'll turn around and give you whatever answers we've got and
Okay,
as soon as we can. I assume that you'll still be taking messages if we send something back to you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then if we haven't clarified it, we'll continue to talk about it. Okay? So, is that good enough at this
Yeah.
point?
so I'll just scan it to you and email it to your Edgar County account.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Well,
AOL account?
well, no, she can, I get them both now.
Oh, you get them both, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I
Somehow
have
you
3
wound
for
up
you,
not
but
being, you were not recognized for a while. I don't know why that is.
It's not a bad thing, is it? No,
So
I'm glad.
Don sends
Thank
it
you.
to both. That way I've always got it. Now, I had something else I was gonna do and it's escaped me. I think we hit most of the high points. Anything else? Oh, yeah, motion to adjourn. Andy moves,
So,
Phil seconds.
You can have it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
you
We
know,
are adjourned and we thank you.
here's a